What if I told you that the pain you keep running from is the very thing that's shaping your life? Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." But what if pain doesn't just visit us? What if it stays with us, quietly dictating how we think, feel, and love? Many of us believe that time will heal our wounds, that one day, without effort, the memories will fade and the pain will disappear. But the truth is far more unsettling. Pain doesn't dissolve. It waits. It hides behind your smile, your ambition, your relationships. And the more you ignore it, the more control it gains over you. That's why you keep repeating the same emotional patterns. That's why you sabotage the things that bring you joy. The trauma becomes your compass not because you want it to, but because it's the only map your unconscious mind understands. Healing doesn't begin with forgetting. It begins with remembering, with sitting down and letting your pain speak without judgment. You will not heal until you stop treating your past like an enemy. You will not heal until you look your suffering in the eye and say, "I see you. I'm listening now," because what you refuse to face will continue to control you. But the moment you dare to listen, truly listen, is the moment the healing begins. Have you ever wondered why, no matter how far you run, your past always finds you? There's a reason silence feels dangerous when you're alone. It's because, in that silence, your pain whispers. The truth is, we've all become experts at avoiding ourselves. We fill our lives with noise, scrolling, working, chasing approval, anything to drown out the echo of what we haven't dealt with. Carl Jung believed that your shadow, the part of yourself you've exiled, never disappears. It only waits. It waits for the quiet moments to remind you of what you refuse to process. And here's the hard truth. You can't outrun what lives inside you. Every suppressed emotion, every unresolved wound becomes a script your subconscious follows. You think you're choosing freely, but in reality, your unhealed trauma is choosing for you. That's why you're drawn to the same toxic people. That's why you sabotage peace the moment you feel it. Your pain has become familiar. It's become home. If you want to stop carrying this weight, you have to go back. You have to return to the scene of the wound, not to relive it, but to reclaim the part of you that got stuck there. Not to blame, but to understand. This isn't weakness. This is the greatest act of courage, to sit with what hurts and say, "You no longer control me." I am taking my story back, because healing doesn't happen by chance. It begins the moment you choose to listen to the voice within the one that's been screaming in silence all along. Why do we keep breaking our own hearts by chasing people who cannot love us? It's a cycle. You give, they take. You hope, they disappoint. And still, you stay not because you don't see the truth, but because the truth feels unbearable. You keep waiting for love from the same source that broke you, believing that maybe, just maybe, they'll finally see your worth. But here's what Jung would tell you: you're not chasing love. You're chasing emotional justice. You're trying to rewrite a story that already ended. Maybe it started in childhood, a parent who didn't see you, love you, protect you. And now, every relationship is a battlefield where you fight to win the affection you were once denied. But this is the illusion, that someone else's validation can heal your inner wound. It can't. In fact, the more you seek it, the more you bury your pain, and the more invisible you become to yourself. You must understand your trauma is not your identity. The people who couldn't love you didn't have the capacity, not because you were unworthy. Healing starts when you stop begging for love and start becoming it for yourself. You are not here to convince someone to see your light. You are here to become the fire that no one can put out. So walk away, not in bitterness, not in revenge, but in power. Walk away to remind your soul that it deserves peace, not proof. What if the person you need to forgive is yourself? We spend so much time angry at others for hurting us. We hold on to that pain like a shield, a way to make sense of why we feel broken, why we can't move forward. But Carl Jung knew the truth sometimes. The heaviest wounds are the ones we've inflicted on ourselves. The nights you ignored your intuition, the times you stayed silent when your soul was screaming, the moments you settled for less knowing deep down. You were betraying your own heart. You carry the weight of those choices, quietly, secretly. and it eats away at you. Not like fire, but like water flow, constant and invisible, that you become your own prison. And the key lies in something you keep avoiding: forgiveness. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean denying the pain you caused yourself. It means finally facing it with tenderness, not shame. It means saying, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Jung believed that true healing only begins when we reclaim the parts of ourselves we've abandoned: the scared child, the insecure lover, the silent dreamer. They're all still in you, waiting to be embraced. So speak to yourself with the compassion you so easily give to others. You deserve to be free from your own judgment. You deserve to start again, because no one can save you if you're still punishing yourself. Have you ever wondered why the same pain keeps coming back, no matter how far you run? Pain, when ignored, does not disappear. It transforms, it shifts. It hides in the voice you use when you're afraid to ask for what you need. It echoes in your relationships, your choices, your silence. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This isn't just philosophy, it's a roadmap to understanding why you're stuck. The trauma you bury doesn't stay in the past. It becomes a pattern. It lives inside the roles you play: the pleaser, the avoider, the fighter. And each time you don't address it, it tightens its grip until you mistake your pain for your personality. You say, this is just who I am. But is it? What if the fear, the rage, the numbness isn't your identity, but your armor? Healing begins when you stop running, when you sit with the storm inside you and stop blaming the weather for what's already broken within. It's not about fixing yourself, it's about finally meeting yourself without judgment, without fear. Carl Jung believed in integration, that the only way out is through, that every shadow you deny becomes your master. But the moment you turn toward it with courage and compassion, it becomes your teacher. So the next time the pain rises, don't escape it. Listen. Ask it what it's here to show you, because healing isn't forgetting. It's remembering who you were before the world told you to hide. What if the real reason you can't move on is because you never gave yourself permission to grieve? We live in a world that rushes healing, that tells you to get over it, to smile, to be strong. But pain doesn't vanish just because someone else is uncomfortable with it. Pain lingers in the spaces you avoid, in the moments you chose silence over truth, endurance over expression. Carl Jung believed that the soul suffers when it is denied the right to speak. And grief is the soul's language, raw, unfiltered. Honest. When you lose something: a relationship, a dream, a version of yourself, you're not just losing an object. You're losing an identity, a hope, a future you imagined. But most people bury grief beneath distractions. They move on without moving through. They build lives over a graveyard of unspoken farewells. And so the pain leaks out in irritability, in insomnia, in the inability to trust again. You wonder why nothing feels enough. It's because your soul is still at the funeral you never attended. True healing begins when you allow the tears to flow without apology. When you stop pretending you're okay and start honoring what you've endured. Grief is not weakness. It's a necessary rite of passage into wholeness. Jung taught that transformation comes through facing what the ego resists. To grieve is not to be broken. It is to be real. So give yourself that space. Not for the world. But for you. Because what you don't mourn, you carry. And what you carry in silence controls you. Have you ever wondered why the same pain keeps finding you, even when you've changed everything else? You changed cities. You changed partners. You even changed your name online. But still the same emptiness returns, like a shadow that knows your every step. Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people mistake movement for healing. They think that if they run far enough, the wounds will be too tired to follow. But trauma doesn't live in your surroundings. It lives in your nervous system, in your choices, in your patterns. You may leave the past physically, but if you haven't faced it emotionally, it shows up again in the people you attract, the way you react, and the fears that grip you at night. Pain unprocessed becomes a loop. You date someone new but feel the same rejection. You chase a new dream but end up feeling the same unworthiness. Because it's not the world that's repeating, it's your inner world crying out for integration. Jung understood that to heal is to bring what's hidden into the light. Not to fight your pain, but to dialogue with it. To sit with the discomfort long enough to hear its message. What were you trying to feel back then that you still can't express? What part of yourself did you abandon to survive? You will never break the cycle by running. You break it by turning inward. By seeing the pattern not as a punishment, but as an invitation to finally meet yourself. Don't need another distraction. You need courage. The courage to feel what you've been avoiding all along. Why do the people who hurt you the most still have power over your peace? You say you've moved on, but their voice still echoes in your mind. Their betrayal still shapes your trust. Their absence still dictates your worth. It's not the person that haunts you. It's the meaning you gave to what they did. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist, persist. The pain you push away doesn't disappear. It just goes underground. It seeps into your relationships, your confidence, your silence. Forgiveness isn't about setting them free. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that were frozen in the moment of impact. The child who stopped trusting. The soul that stopped believing. The voice that stopped speaking. Healing begins the moment you stop asking why they did it, and start asking what it took from you. Not to wallow, but to retrieve what was lost. Your boundaries. Your joy. Your freedom to love without fear. Until then, you're still in a contract with your pain, a silent agreement to carry their wound like your own. But you are not the one who failed. You are the one who survived. Let go, not for them, but for the person you're becoming. Because as long as your past owns your heart, your future will remain hostage. Have you ever wondered why your pain resurfaces just when life seems calm again? There's a silence that hurts more than words. A quiet space where the memories you thought were buried return not to torture you, but to remind you the wound is still open. Carl Jung believed the psyche is like a house, and trauma, it locks certain rooms. You live in only a part of yourself, afraid of opening the doors you once slammed shut. But the longer you avoid those rooms, the louder the knocking gets. Nightmares, anxiety, panic in places that should bring peace. It's all the subconscious begging you to return and restore. True healing doesn't come from pretending the pain never existed. It comes from walking back into the darkest room of your memory, turning on the light, and finally being there for the version of you who was alone. This is not weakness. This is sacred courage, the kind that says, I won't keep running. The kind that reclaims your story from the hands of those who tried to rewrite it with cruelty. Because here's the truth. If you don't consciously work through the pain, you unconsciously recreate it in your partners, your choices, your silence. The ghosts of yesterday become architects of tomorrow unless you become conscious enough to stop them. You don't heal by forgetting. You heal by facing what hurt you and choosing in that confrontation to become whole again. What if your greatest strength is hidden inside the very moment that broke you? Carl Jung once said, "The shadow is not evil, it's simply the part of ourselves we refuse to see." Yet most people live terrified of their shadow, the pain. The rage, the betrayal they were forced to swallow in silence. You carry your pain like armor, not because it protects you, but because it's the only thing that reminds you you're still alive. But this kind of survival is quiet, slow dying. You smile, but it doesn't reach your eyes. You work, but nothing feels purposeful. You love, but always with a wall. Why? Because until you confront the moment your soul fractured, you will always live in fragments. Jung teaches us that wholeness isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real. And becoming real means stepping into the fire of your most painful truths, not to be consumed, but to be REFORGED. Ask yourself, who were you before the world told you to hide? Before love taught you fear? Before pain rewrote your definition of self-worth? To heal is to return, to remember, to reclaim. And this reclamation is not done through logic. It's done through inner war. A war where you finally stand up to the voices that told you you're not enough and reply, I was always enough. You just couldn't see it. You will carry your pain forever unless you dare to go back. Hold hands with your former self and walk out of the darkness together. What if the people who hurt you were never meant to heal you, but to reveal you? There comes a moment when you stop waiting for apologies that will never come. A moment when the people you once bled for suddenly feel like strangers in a memory you can't erase. This moment is not your end, it's your threshold, a passage. Because the greatest healing begins when you stop needing closure from the ones who broke you. Carl Jung believed that what you resist persists. And when we resist the truth of how we were wounded, we stay chained to it, not because we deserve to suffer, but because the pain feels familiar. It becomes a language we unknowingly speak to ourselves. This is who I am, broken, unwanted, not enough. But that's not who you are. You are not the hurt. You are not the betrayal. You are the awareness of it, the observer, the one who endured, who now has the power to choose a different narrative to truly heal. Jung would say you must integrate the experience, not erase it. The scars remain, but they become symbols not of weakness, but of truth, of having walked through fire and learned to breathe again. Healing is never about getting even. It's about getting free. Free from needing them to understand. Free from needing the past to be different. Free from defining yourself through the lens of someone else's failure to love you right. So you stand, maybe trembling, but you stand, and you say to yourself, I am no longer asking why they hurt me. I'm asking what this pain awakened in me and who I'm becoming because of it. Healing doesn't begin when the pain ends, it begins when you stop pretending you're not wounded. We live in a world that rewards numbness. Stay strong. They say move on, but what they really mean is hide your pain so it doesn't make others uncomfortable. Bury your sorrow. Smile for the camera. Pretend you are not bleeding inside. And in doing so, you become invisible to yourself. Carl Jung teaches us that the parts we disown, the parts we exile into silence become our shadow. And the more we repress them, the more they haunt our relationships, our choices, our view of the world. Your unacknowledged pain becomes a puppet master. Until one day, everything collapses under the weight of what you never dared to feel. But here's the truth you cannot heal. What you refuse to face. The moment you sit with your wounds not to judge, not to fix, but to simply witness them, is the moment you reclaim your inner power. It may feel unbearable at first. The grief, the shame, the forgotten memories flooding back like a tidal wave. But inside that storm is something sacred: self-acceptance. You don't need to be okay to be worthy of peace. You just need to be real. This is how you begin, not with answers, but with presence. With tears that no longer need explanation. With silence that honors the weight of what you've carried. And slowly your soul whispers back, I see you. I've been waiting for you to come home. If your inner child still weeps in silence, no amount of success will ever make you feel whole. There's a quiet ache that follows us into adulthood, one that no one sees. Yet it defines everything. It's the echo of a younger self, abandoned in a moment of fear, rejection, or loneliness. That child never left. They simply went silent. Carl Jung believed that the wounded child lives on in the unconscious, influencing how we love, how we fear, and how we define ourselves. You might become a perfectionist because no one ever made you feel good enough, or a people pleaser because love always felt conditional, or maybe you push everyone away because closeness once meant betrayal. And here's the tragedy: we keep looking for others to heal what only we can mend. We expect partners to make us feel secure. We chase achievements hoping to feel worthy. But the child within doesn't need trophies, they need tenderness. They don't need to be fixed, they need to be held. To heal your deepest wounds, you must sit beside that child and say, I'm sorry you were alone. I'm here now, and I will never leave again. This act, this sacred reunion, is not a performance. It's not a technique. It's a homecoming. And in that moment, you may feel the pain rise like a wave, but let it rise. Let it cleanse, because behind it is the voice you lost long ago, and it's time to give it back. Are you ready to face the shadow you've been running from your entire life? Our pain doesn't just live in memories. It dwells in the shadows of our psyche. Jung called this part, the shadow self, the rejected, hidden fragments of who we are. These shadows hold our fears, our guilt, our shame, but also our unclaimed strengths. Most people avoid their shadows because facing them means embracing parts of ourselves. We deny the anger, the envy, the vulnerability. But to heal, you must walk into that darkness with courage. Because the shadows are not the enemy, they are your unhealed truth waiting for recognition. When you refuse to see your shadow, you give it power to control your life from behind the scenes. You repeat patterns, attract toxic relationships, and sabotage your own happiness. Yet, when you invite your shadow into the light, you gain power over it. Healing begins with honest self-confrontation. This is not easy. It requires brutal honesty and compassion. It means saying, I see you even when it hurts. You are part of me, and I choose to understand you. This acceptance transforms the shadow from a prison into a source of wisdom and strength. The journey into your shadow is the journey toward true freedom from the past, from self-deception, and from suffering. What if the key to ending your suffering lies not in forgetting your pain, but in transforming it? True healing does not mean erasing the past or pretending pain never happened. It means weaving your suffering into the fabric of your identity in a way that empowers rather than destroys you. Carl Jung taught that pain, when integrated consciously, becomes a source of creativity, empathy, and profound wisdom. This transformation begins when you accept that pain is part of your unique story, a story that no one else can tell. To carry your pain forever is to stay trapped in a cycle of victimhood, resentment, and self-pity. But to transform your pain requires you to become an alchemist of your own soul. You must turn the lead of your suffering into the gold of self-awareness. This process demands patience and self-love. It means forgiving yourself for your mistakes, forgiving those who hurt you, and forgiving the world for its chaos. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is the ultimate act of strength. When you transform your pain, you no longer carry it as a burden, but as a beacon, a light that guides you and others through darkness. This is the secret to lasting peace and fulfillment. Your pain is a sacred teacher. Listen carefully, and you will learn how to live fully, love deeply, and rise above every challenge.